morning, dear people of the internet, and welcome to society, or more specifically, etiquette. You know, those social rules that you're just supposed to know. I'm going to read these etiquette rules and put them into a tier list, or some of them, because I will never get through all of them because there are far too many of them. I think I'm the perfect person to do this because I am autistic, and since the dawn of my existence, I've heard that I have been doing things socially wrong. So if there's anyone who can rate those rules on how much common sense they make according to me, it's gonna be me. Now, I cannot speak for all autistic people or everyone in general because I'm just one person with one opinion and one life experience and one culture and whatever, so I'm heavily biased. But this is my video, so I'm gonna just give you my opinion, and the autism has something to do with this, but not everything. And also, my common sense might not be your common sense, so please don't take this too seriously. Before we get started though, I have a very short public service announcement. I'm in college, I need to pay for that, and you can help me with that for free by subscribing and watching my videos, because I know this is a delusional plan, but I think it can work, but something has to happen for it to work, so please do that, if you like my videos, of course. Now let's get started. Etiquette has been a thing since the ancient Egyptians. I didn't know that before I looked this up, but apparently it has. In about the year 2375 before Christ, some guy named Ptolemy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. I don't know any ancient Egyptians who could help me with that, or anyone, but he wrote a book writing down some of the rules of society. Etiquette has been changing with time and with culture ever since. In the beginning, etiquette was mostly conceptual and about kindness and politeness, and in the Victorian era, rules and codes had been written down more concretely, about what cutlery to use when, for example. But today we're going to look at some modern etiquette by TikTokers, because that's just fun. And just so you know, nothing against these TikTokers, I'm just using them, I guess. I will leave their names in so you can look them up yourself and learn from them to know what modern etiquette according to TikTok is like.
It's really kind of insane how some of you don't know basic etiquette from your head, from your ass. And this is why you will never be treated a certain way when you walk into a specific room. Because again, remember, money does not equal wealth. Money does not equal class. You could be the richest person on the planet and still never be treated as fairly as you think you deserve, which a lot of you are screaming at me for. I deserve to be treated. I deserve to be as equal. You have to earn your place in a room, sweetie. Trust is earned, not given freely, okay? Welcome back to part 2 on basic etiquette, since some of you were not taught this stuff. Okay, number 1, when you're visiting someone else's home or workplace, anytime you're going somewhere that isn't your house, you don't slam someone's door, opening or closing it. You close it lightly. You're very cautious of their property, because guess what? A door is still part of a house. House is their property. Crazy concept, I know. Don't slam the door.
Kind of a rude intro, but okay. The idea of earning respect is wild to me. Like, I see it happening around me and I know it happens, but to me it would make a lot more sense if you just have respect for everybody and just the same level of respect, and just be kind to someone without any judgment about who they are and what they're doing. And then if they do something unkind or mean or bad, whatever, you lose respect for them. That is how it should be, if you ask me. Anyway, the door thing. I hate unexpected noises, and slamming doors is one of those things. Once, when I was 4 years old, I cried for over an hour because of a singular popped balloon. It was my fault as well for putting it in the bright sun. I did not know about physics at the time, so it was not really my fault, but it was my fault, you know. And I cried for an hour, and after that I was scared for literal years for everything that held air, which included balloons, of course, and everything up to bouncy houses and air mattresses. I was scared of those too, because in my brain they could do the same thing and pop at any moment for any reason. Especially bouncy houses out in the sun were very scary to me. Not that anything happened, and I eventually got over my fears, but I was so scared for many years because of that one popped balloon when I was 4 years old. I think this is common sense, not slamming doors in anyone's houses, including your own, maybe. Unless you have a thing for slamming doors in your own house and you're not bothering anyone with it, I guess. I think that is common sense, but I tend to take these things too literally. Like, closing a door carefully can be very awkward. I have had many situations as well in which I was trying to close the door carefully, but I did not notice how far the door actually was open, and then it just took very, very long, and I'm just staring at the other person that I'm supposed to be having a conversation with when the door is closed, but it's taking a century because I'm closing the door too slow, but I'm not going to do it quicker because then it will slam. That's just very awkward. And on the other hand, you have the wind, who can slam the doors anyways, however much you're being careful. So I will put this in A tier because of that.
Next, when you go into someone else's home or in someone else's room, Inside of a home, you knock before you enter. You don't just waltz into someone's house. You never know what you're walking into. You don't announce yourself. Announce yourself. Knock. If they try to contact you through the Ring camera, let them know who it is. Say, hi, it's so-and-so. When you're in someone's house and someone else is using the bathroom, you knock. You don't just walk into the bathroom. Same concept. Start thinking clearly.
I grew up in a situation where I was not taught to knock on doors. It was kind of wild, but it does make a lot of sense to me to knock on doors. And I will feel awkward for not knocking on someone's door when I'm entering a room and I need to announce myself. That's how that works. So I will put this in S tier because not knocking can cause a lot of problems. Half of the secondhand embarrassment from shows that you watch is from people walking into rooms without announcing themselves, and then they see their parents or their friends or whatever doing things that they don't want to see.
Okay, this one's really going to send you guys into a tizzy. You don't eat until every person at the table you're seated at also has their food. Let's do an example. If you're at a table of a party of 10, for example, 8 people, because I'm not going to include you, 8 people get their food, but the person next to you doesn't, 9 people get their food, but the person next to you doesn't get their food, you don't start eating until every single person at that table has their plate. I know a lot of you are going to say, Morgan, why would I? Because you just don't know basic etiquette, babes. You don't know respect if it slapped you across the face.
I was taught a lot of food etiquette, on the other hand, and most of it makes no sense to me. Like, this rule about waiting until everybody has their food makes no sense to me, because your food's just getting cold on your plate. Like, the only reason why this would make sense is if you're not entirely sure that you have made enough food for the entire table, if you invited people to your home, for example, and then you need to redistribute the food in the end. On the other hand, that's not really a situation where etiquette is a thing most of the times, so it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to put this in F tier because I don't get it. Sure, I get it, the people want to eat at the same time, and you can feel sad because other people are eating and you're not, but you know your food is coming. This is not a situation where waiting helps anyone.
This one really pisses me off. And I actually can't understand, for the life of me, why some of you think this is okay. Do not treat someone else's home like garbage. And don't treat the person that you're visiting like garbage. Do what you want in your home, sweetie. But if you are going to someone else's house, say a party, for example, a birthday party, whatever it is, and you bring your significant other or your situationship, whatever the hell that means nowadays, or your fuck buddy, you don't have sex in someone else's home. I really don't know why people think that's okay. That's a very public thing that I've seen a lot of people like boasting about on TikTok. Boast, that's a big word. That's a vocab word. Some of you don't know. That's not okay. I had a friend do that to me in high school. Cut off so fast. Never spoke to her again. Cut the tie. Cinched. Never happening again. You think it's okay to go into someone else's home? Their boundaries. Their safe space. Their 4 walls that they pay for with their own money, and you're gonna have sex in their bed? No. I have so much more, so come back for part 3.
These are 2 different things. Being kind to people and their spaces is very much common sense to me. As is not having sex in your friend's bed unless they ask you to explicitly. So don't do this. This goes into S tier, even though they are 2 different things.
In case they didn't teach you, here are some day-to-day etiquette things that you should probably know. No shame if you didn't already know. Honestly, we all learn at one point or another, and I'm sure I haven't learned a lot of things, so just sharing what I know now. You do already know these things, just let's not do the whole comment thing where we say like, this is common sense, because we're all just learning, and this is just to help those who maybe didn't get to learn this yet. Number 1 is know your audience, and 99.9% of the time, that audience is not the people to talk money with. Just talking finances in general is just not really an enjoyable topic for most people and makes people feel weird. So asking how much things cost or talking about how much someone makes, those kinds of things, we'll just table that and probably not touch on it.
I already appreciate this no judgment approach a lot more than the previous video. I think this depends on the situation, but I generally disagree. I know this is a taboo in so many different cultures, and it is also one of the main reasons why there's still a gigantic pay gap, for example, between men and women. That is the most notorious one, but I assume that this also includes a lot of discrimination. So not talking about this makes sure that rich people can keep going and pay people that they value less, and white men, they can pay them more because people are not talking about this. And especially right now when lower middle class and lower paid people are more and more struggling with just paying for their basic needs, it is so important to talk about this and to share resources and just advise how to do things. That's so important. The only reason I can think of not talking about this, because it can be kind of a stressful topic to talk about, and I guess because of rich people gatekeeping. So I'm going to put this in D tier just because of that.
If you run into someone you know and you're with somebody that does not know that person, or you're at an event with a date or somebody else and you're talking to someone that they don't know, introduce that person as soon as possible. It makes everyone in the conversation more comfortable. You'll feel less awkward, like your friend's just standing there. Your friend will feel less awkward because they're just standing there, and that person will then get to meet somebody new.
I understand this, but I maybe have a hot take here. I don't think that this responsibility should solely fall on the person who knows everyone. I always feel very awkward talking about a person when they are standing next to me, especially. So they can say their own names, and I think it's most important that introductions happen as soon as possible. So if no one else does it, I will do it. So therefore I will put it in C tier.
If you're waiting for an elevator and the door is open and somebody's in there, make sure you let them get off first before you get on. It just is kind of impolite to rush on while somebody's trying to get off.
S tier. I wholeheartedly agree with this. Every morning when I'm trying to get on and off the train, people are not abiding by this rule, and because of that, I bump into people all the time, and I hate it. I also don't like waiting, but you can wait. It won't take longer than a minute, especially if you're being patient, it's going to be quicker.
If you're in public and you're taking up a seat and somebody that is sick, elderly, pregnant, whatever, walks up and they clearly need a seat and there's none other around, get up and offer your seat. Just a nice thing to do.
I do agree with this rule, but I do have some trouble with it. Nobody can smell who needs the seat. Assuming can lead to offending people, and there are people with invisible disabilities who cannot stand for very long, like me. On one hand, I don't have the guts to ask anyone for a seat when I need it because of the invisible disabilities thing, and I just don't want to assume that someone is more able-bodied than I am in that moment. And on the other hand, when an elderly person comes in and I don't get up, I feel stared at because, especially when I'm clearly the youngest person on the bus, you just cannot assume things about people, and that makes this very hard. To be clear, I will get up if I am having a good day, and I will do in my brain, assuming a lot of things, but I will do a risk assessment in my brain, and if the person looks less stable than I feel at this moment, I am giving them their seat, I will get up. The person least likely to get injured should be the one standing in any situation. I just don't think that there's a great solution for this, so I will put this in A tier for now.
If you're going to something that someone is hosting at their house, don't show up empty-handed. And if you're gonna bring flowers, bring them in a vase. Don't bring them just like outside of a vase and needing to be cut up and put in water, because they're already hosting, they already have a lot on their plate, they don't need to worry about those flowers right now.
This really depends on the situation. I generally don't think that bringing flowers is a great idea because hay fever exists and the cutting the flowers thing too. Bringing a vase is not really a solution for this because you only need so many vases in your life. Like, imagine if you have a gathering with 10 people and every year you have a gathering with 10 people, and maybe you know these people and maybe it's the same people every year, but maybe it is not. And then it has been 3 years and everyone has brought flowers and a vase every single year, and now you have 30 vases. What on earth are you going to do with 30 vases? Assume giving them away to the next person, but it doesn't make sense. Bring chocolates or anything if you know that the person is not allergic or vegan, or you have vegan chocolates, bring vegan chocolates, whatever. I think that bringing something can be fun, but you don't have to do it. You shouldn't feel obligated to do it. Except maybe for a birthday or baby shower or whatever, like those gift-giving events. I don't think you should be bringing a gift to a situation, unless you really want to. And unless the people ask, like, it's a bring your own part of the meal kind of event. So this will be going in D tier.
If you're at a restaurant, the waitresses and waiters are not your staff. They're not to be treated with disrespect. Even if you do have staff, hopefully you don't treat them with disrespect, but they're to be treated with the utmost respect and kindness. Always say please and thank you, and compliment them if they're being quick. People often aren't kind to people in this industry, so do your best to show them kindness when you can.
This goes immediately into S tier. I've worked in a restaurant and I've worked into retail, and it's not a lie when I say that it's so clear that there are some people out there who literally treat you as less than for working these jobs, even though they don't know anything about your situation and even though it's a perfectly fine job to have. Like, it makes no sense, but people literally do that. And having kind customers is always so very helpful. You don't even realize this. Just saying hello in the beginning of the situation and thank you in the end of the conversation, and just answering the questions the person is asking you kindly, it already matters so much. You don't understand if you have not worked this job. If you have, yes. If you do understand and you have not, great. I am very happy that you do. Say have a nice day at the end of your interaction. It helps so much because there are so many people out there who, for some reason, treat people like robots or whatever, or less than, or like they don't have a brain or whatever. Not that that's necessarily bad, or I don't know. This goes into S tier.
Back to the attending things at people's homes. If you are walking into someone's house and you have your shoes on, ask them, do you want me to take my shoes off? It's a simple question, shows courtesy, and gives them the opportunity to be able to say, yes, please take them off, or no, you're totally fine, keep them on.
I also think that this just depends a lot on where you are in the world, but I generally agree. It's also very helpful that if you're hosting something, that you just tell the person when they are entering your house. Like, you don't have to just hope that they are going to respect your house rules. You can just tell them, and that's going to be fine. You can ask if they are not telling you, but I think the person should tell you. So this goes into B tier.
This is for the ladies. If you have your hairbrush with you, which I usually do when I'm traveling or things like that, and you want to touch up, go to the restroom. Don't do it in public. People don't want your hair blowing everywhere. If you're in the plane and you're doing it in your seat, you're probably getting it all over the ground, or someone next to you, it's blowing around. Whether you see it or not, it's happening, so just do it in the bathroom.
I don't know why this is for the ladies. There are plenty of men with long hair as well, and society sees them as less problematic as younger women with short hair. That's a whole other thing, but I don't know why this is specifically a woman thing. Anyhow, I've never cared enough about my hair to bring a hairbrush, even when my hair was long. I do care about this, by the way. My hair had been flattened dead because I dyed it, and now on the day that I'm filming a video, it decides to stand up in the air again. And I hate putting products in my hair, so I need to wash it and put a hat on so it dries flat. I do care about this, but like, when you have long hair, you brush your hair at home. That's my point of view. From a passenger point of view, I kind of understand this because it also is kind of uncomfortable if someone is next to you waving with their arms all the time. I also just don't care a lot, I think, about the hairs flying out, because you're not de-shedding a rabbit. If you have that much hair loss that it's generally bothering all the people around you, you should get that checked out probably. So I will put this into C tier.
Even if you're really relating to something someone's saying, try your best to not interrupt. And if you watch someone else get interrupted, wait for the interrupter to finish what they were saying when they interrupted, and then turn to the person who was talking and say, as you were saying something about, and try to clue them back into what they were saying. Often if you get interrupted, you lose your train of thought. And I know I really appreciate when people do that. And I'm like, oh yes, thank you. And it shows you care.
I am really bad at not interrupting people. I'm just really bad at noticing when somebody is done talking or not. It's awkward to just wait and see if they're gonna talk more. Sometimes people pause, sometimes people don't, sometimes people sound like they're stopped talking, but they go on. It's just very hard. But I do agree with this, so I will be putting this into A tier.
If you have something in your teeth in public, let's not pull out our phones and do the whole thing. Just go to the restroom. Try to get it out in there with a piece of floss. Please don't floss in public. I have seen people do it, and it is unsanitary, and people, let's not do that. Go to the bathroom. That's the best place to do it.
It's probably just me, but I couldn't care less if people do this. Part of my brain is like, what does it matter if people do this just out and about and in a public bathroom, for example? Like, I can see the situation if it's a private bathroom, but if it's a public bathroom, I don't see what is the difference. There is a small part of me that understands this on a conceptual level, so I will put it into C tier.
If you're waiting in line for something, give the people in front of you space. I know sometimes things can feel crowded and you really want to get up there, but there's nothing worse than somebody on your back breathing on you when you're already overstimulated in line. So we're all gonna get there at the point that we're supposed to get there, so just give them some space.
Oh my god, yes. I've been pushed onto trains and buses so much, and I hate it when people that I don't know touch me. It's just so annoying. This goes into S tier.
Thank you notes go a long way, and it feels like they might be becoming like a lost art. And honestly, I hope that we can reverse that and bring them back, because it's so nice to get a thank you note when you give someone something just to know that they got it and they appreciate it, or if you hosted or something along those lines. If someone did something for you, write them a thank you note, show them your appreciation. I know texts are easy, but thank you notes show that extra level of effort and they're sweet and personal.
Thank you notes feel like a quintessential American thing to me. At least it's not something that we do in the Netherlands, and I only learned about this while I was listening to a podcast of American people who were talking about their wedding, and then they mentioned this, and I was kind of confused because we don't do that here. That happened somewhere in the past 5 years. My philosophy about giving gifts to someone is that if I have given a gift to you, it's not my problem anymore. I would assume that you're going to say thank you because that is in my culture, and I would like to have some kind of appreciation, but I also would feel very uncomfortable getting a thank you note because that would feel like too much for me. But this is also a cultural thing, and from my cultural background understanding, I will put this in D tier and not F tier because I somewhat understand that this is a cultural thing and I really don't know the culture around this.
We're back with another list. This is your etiquette and table rules that you should be aware of long before 25. Let's go. The first one, and I mean this so sincerely, is that we are not splitting the tax proportionally to the amount of food or drink or whatever that we ordered when you were out to dinner with friends. Now, if we're talking about the tip and you're not drinking and other people ordered several drinks that night, yeah, sure, absolutely, you can factor in drinks into the tip. But when we're talking about the sales tax, that to me just feels ridiculous, and that to me is the price that you pay to go out to a meal with friends.
I assume that this is some kind of service fee and not an actual tax. I have only come across this once in my life in Germany, which is not where I live, so I've only had to deal with this once, but I agree. And less math is always better, so this is going in A tier.
Number two, if you are going out to a meal with someone that is not your direct family and you are not paying for it, you should be benchmarking the price of your meal off of the host. I don't care if it's your aunt, I don't care if it's your friend's friend. Do not order the 16-ounce steak when someone else is ordering the chicken if you are not paying for that meal. It's rude, not cute, it's not funny. It's a corporate card, that's a completely different situation.
I feel a little bit conflicted about this one. Like, I know this rule and I think it's common sense to a certain extent, but it is the responsibility of the host to take people to a restaurant that they can afford. And if the price range is kind of small, like if the host is ordering a dish that is 16 euros and you're ordering the most expensive dish and it is 18 euros, I think that should be alright, because I would as a host have a better time knowing that you eat something you like instead of something that you only eating because it's cheaper and that you only sort of like. The little difference should be okay. However, there are menus who have like a normal range of prices and then they have one super expensive item. If the host is not ordering that super expensive item, you shouldn't either. I do think that should be the rule. And don't order more courses than the host. I will put this in D tier because I just find this a little bit too vague for my brain.
How you hold your silverware can often be cultural. Do not assume that one is right or wrong. I would have a little patience and have a little flexibility for people from different cultures when they're holding their silverware. Now, on the other side of that, if you are the foreigner in the situation, defer to local customs, okay? Now, if you're British, I don't think you need to switch to like switching the fork and the knife when you are eating. But if you are a foreigner and you are in America, that means you got a tip, okay? And if you are an American that is in a foreign country, it means watch the volume of your voice. Defer to the culture you are in when you are a tourist, when you are a visitor.
I'm not sure if this is one or two rules. I do think that you should hold your cutlery in any way that is comfortable for you and that makes you eat like a human, like you should. I don't like that there are rules about how to hold your cutlery and which goes in which hands. I just don't like that. Dinner is not a performance. It is to get food into your body. I know that this is deeply connected to culture in many cultures, but that doesn't mean that it should matter how you eat, and I know that it does, and I will respect that. I think that's important. I think it's always important to respect culture, even though you don't understand it. So I will respect it. I just don't agree with it. I feel like one of those transphobic people talking to a trans person right now. I'm not sure if I'm right in this, but it's not about people's right to exist in this situation, it's about how you hold your cutlery. It probably doesn't help here with my opinion that my country doesn't really have a big culture around food. Like, a common lunch here is 2 slices of whole wheat bread with a singular slice of cheese in the middle. And now I don't like that lunch, so I never have it. If I have a sandwich with the cheese, I will put at least something else there to make it actually taste nice. But that is the culture that we have here. It's very minimal. Like, we have food culture. There are some people who are defending food culture here, but it's the smallest food culture in any country that I've ever been to. I don't really know what to do with this, so I will put it in C tier. It's average. And yes, I do know that I've taken out the E tier, even though I'm not American, but for some reason I've watched too many American shows, so now if I'm rating things on a letter basis, I will take out the E, even though that doesn't make sense. F is filled, D is pass, but C is average, B is kind of okay, A is yeah, and C is there should be no discussion about this and everyone should do this and I think that everyone should have this in their brain, even though some people don't.
The next one is for parents, and I don't have kids, and I probably will never have kids, so maybe this is controversial, but if your child needs an iPad at dinner, fine, whatever. But if your child needs an iPad at dinner and refuses to wear headphones or use it without the volume on full blast, your child should not be out to dinner, should not be in a restaurant. That is taking away from other people's experiences. And I understand that that might be the night that you get out, but you don't have the right to ruin everyone else's because your child needs to play their iPad at full volume while you eat your chicken parm.
I'm going to generalize this rule to everyone playing a sound on a device in public should wear headphones. If you don't, on purpose, you deserve a crusty warm pillow, especially in summer, all the time. Buskers are exempt from this rule, of course. Anyway, this is going in S tier, of course.
And lastly, you need to be aware of when you are hogging a table. You are spending hundreds of dollars and you're continuing to drink, by all means, stay at the table. But if you have stopped ordering anything, you've stopped ordering drinks, you're not doing dessert, and you know there's a line at the restaurant, and it's not just like, oh, I deserve to have a good time. You're kind of taking money out of the waiter's pocket, and it's just kind of rude. This sounds like it's more of an American thing because of, not paying our waiters a living wage, but I think it's really important to be cognizant of that. One of the most important things to me when it comes to dating is watching how people treat waitstaff, and I think that's like table hogging is one of the things that I think can be a really big tell as to just how considerate someone is. None of these should feel crazy or dramatic to you, and honestly, if they did, I think it's best that we keep some distance.
I do agree to a certain extent, but I also think that it should be the responsibility of the owners of the restaurant to make sure that everyone gets paid a living wage. How European of me to say that, but that's a bigger problem. And again, places differ, and I'm not in America, so I cannot know how that is. So for American people, I agree with this. So I will put this in B tier. Now you cannot review etiquette rules without talking about that one British etiquette guy. So let's review one of his rules.
Here's how to eat breakfast cereal. First of all, add your milk of choice. I'm going for semi. And then, with a spoon held in your dominant hand and the fork in your non-dominant hand, you will eat. Now, it's not soup, so you don't need to scoop away from you like you would with soup, but you can use the fork to push some corned flakes onto your spoon and eat accordingly. Here's how to eat.
Now, this of course goes immediately into F tier. Eating cereal with a fork, even though you also have a spoon, feels illegal. Instead, everyone knows that you should use your free hand to wiggle the bowl around so you can get the cereal on your spoon. Everyone knows that. That's how that goes. You don't use a fork. I do enjoy watching this guy's videos though. They are so absurd, and that's why I enjoy them. Regardless of whether these rules are real or not, like I know that at least some of them are, and maybe all of them are. They're just so absurd, and I love watching them because of that. I'm kind of surprised about how spread out all of my opinions about these rules are. While I was writing this video, a thought popped into my mind that might explain my sort of positive views on this a little bit more. As an autistic person, it often seems like society has so many rules that are unwritten and unspoken and that you're just supposed to know for some reason. Even though when you speak them out loud, these rules often seem unnecessary or even illogical. Take the looking into someone's eyes thing, for example. I know a very rudimentary example, but it's rude not to look into someone's eyes when you're talking to them. Or it even seems like you might have something to hide if you don't look into someone's eyes. Yet it is also rude to stare into someone's soul through their eyes when you're talking to them, which is, in my brain, the exact same thing. It's only rude if you're not about to kiss the person, I have learned. Not to mention that eyes feels like lasers to me most of the time. Like, it almost feels painfully intimate to look into a stranger's eyes. It's just kind of weird. And then there are some people that say, oh yeah, you don't really look into somebody's eyes, you look at their forehead or whatever. I've heard neurotypical people say that, but then other people say that you actually should look into people's eyes. I don't know. Nobody can get a consensus on this rule. It's kind of weird. So I've just given up on this, and if I don't know somebody that well, I will look into their direction, somewhat in their facial area. If I know someone really well, they do know that I am listening even though I'm not looking at them, so that's good enough for me. Anyhow, back to my theory.
You're asking me about my theories? I've waited years for someone to ask me about my theories.
I feel like all this etiquette are rules that you're supposed to know, and yet some people have felt the need to write them down over time. So my theory is that autistic people have felt this need the most and have started writing these down. And I'm sure that neurotypical people also wrote this down. And I don't know if this actually went like this. Like, I cannot know that. But that's my theory. Do with it what you want. Today we've mostly looked at modern Western etiquette, but we have also learned that etiquette is different in different cultures and different times. So let me know if you want a part 2 where I look at historical etiquette rules, probably also Western historical ethical rules, because I am sort of part of that culture, and because etiquette is so dependent on culture, I cannot really judge the etiquette of cultures that I'm not a part of. So that makes sense, hopefully. Anyways, if you want a part 2 with more historical etiquette, let me know. Thank you for watching. If you like my little video, please press the wonderful shiny like and subscribe buttons, and then I will see you next time. Ciao!